Rah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to Holy Plot. You're seeing a lot of us this weekend. I hope you like it.
You are. It's been a week.
You
really are.
You know what we liked? Scavengers Reign. You know how I know it? Because it's like 4 a.m. We're still talking about it.
Yeah,
this
Scavengers Reign. I love you, but
full
please
series review.
change your release times.
Please.
If you want to know our specific thoughts on any of the episodes, including the 3 most recent, those videos should already be out. Go check them out before you watch this one. And if you want to know what we think about the cliffhanger in Season 2, we have a video coming out that addresses that. But for now, you know what, James? We're going to start with James today. James, what did you think about Scavengers Reign Season 1?
I think that we're all going to say this, but absolutely true for me. This was the surprise of the year. I saw this trailer drop, and I was like, you know what? We talk about animation a good bit on Holy Plot. What the hell? Let's talk about Scavengers Reign. And I don't know if we all went in with like that many like preconceptions about what we were getting into.
I didn't know this existed. I didn't know this show existed.
Yeah, this show was incredible. It was very cool to learn that it was inspired by a short that somebody made that, you know, aired on Adult Swim and all that. I think ultimately how I felt, even from the first episode, is that the animation industry over here desperately needs shows like this. Shows that show that animation is a medium, it's not a genre, that animation can be so many different things, that adult animation is very much a thing. And I loved the show. It was good sci-fi. It was good, trippy, mind-bending thriller stuff. I could not have been more happy with this show.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say it now. Watch this. Like, please. This is fantastic. It's absolutely my surprise of the year. Completely off the radar. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad that we still can, other than a world where as consumers of stuff, we can get surprised, you know? That doesn't feel like that happens at all anymore.
No.
And once in a while it does. And this is definitely it. This show has a very unique vibe that is exclusive to it. It's got a little Studio Ghibli in there. It's got some Subnautica in there and some Alien in there. And it is just fantastic. It is. It honestly has a lot to say. Liam, what do you think?
Well, I think I'll go back to my point I made if you've seen our episode review for the finale, where throughout this whole season we have been comparing it to Subnautica, Ghibli, Alien, what have you. But I think the strength of this show truly lies in its creativity, its uniqueness, its willingness to surprise you and bend the rules and maybe take a character. I think a good example is someone like Sam, where maybe the most exciting or satisfying thing for like a general audience would have had like Sam have a lightsaber battle with Kamen on top of the Demeter, but that's not what Scavengers Reign does. It has a quiet moment with him that like contemplates morality, and there isn't really. I mean, I guess there is like a big final confrontation, but even that, it's not. It doesn't go down the way you would expect, and it's still
commentating on a lot, and it's still complicated. And I think a big reason for that, because yes, you're right, it does have a climax that's kind of bombastic and it's, you know, very action heavy, but the villain of this show is unlike anything I've seen in a long time. Where the villain of the show is completely silent, they are a creature in a world of many creature designs.
A kitty cat.
The kitty cat. And I've seen silent protagonists before. It has been a while since I've seen a silent antagonist. It feels like the Xenomorph. It feels like a slasher villain. And it's incredibly unique for a show of this vibe, where it really just feels like a very like chill psychedelic show, but has this massive curveball on it. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey version of E.T.
How many like gigantic, big budget, blockbuster stuff that comes out can you really like get the feeling that this is someone's art? Like
it's fresh,
the whole,
it's new, it's innovative.
The whole time I was watching the show, especially the last few episodes, which were the best in my opinion, was
yes.
This is truly animation as an art form, and it feels like I am not just consuming content, but experiencing a piece. I know that's like the most pretentious thing I've ever said on this channel, but it's true. It's true. Like,
It is true.
I have a lot of respect for Scavengers Reign, which I can't say about a lot of media I've seen this year, where Scavengers Reign was not necessarily interested in catering to me, the audience, so much as it was inviting me to experience the world it crafted and what it had to say about it. Which, if that sounds at all interesting to you, I beg you, please watch the show. It's fantastic. It's a sleeper hit. It's absolutely going to become a cult classic. You're shooting yourself in the foot if you're not watching it.
Animation really is about how you tell the story. And the animation here was beautiful. It had a very unique style and tone. You compare this to something like What If, that has the personality of cardboard. And it's night and day. The animation here contributes so much to the personality of the show and how it's told. And we need more of that. And so that was wonderful through this entire season.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit about like the specific themes that we gathered from this. Specifically, what it has to say about life and death. Liam, you had a very interesting take on this, and I think it applies to basically every single character in the story. We honed in the last video about specifically Kamen and his creature, which has a more complicated relationship than meets the eye. But I think every character is really summing up a lot about like organisms and how they function.
Yeah, it's like in the animal kingdom on Earth, you have every creature fulfills like a niche. And then if you look at something like the Florida Everglades, you introduce an invasive species or a parasite, and it adapts to an environment and sometimes can take it over, can destroy it. And this was, I think you had an interesting point in our finale review, where you said that it was almost like this was a world that did not compromise to invasive species. Like if you wanted to survive on this planet, you had to adapt to it.
For sure.
Like not the other way around. Like this is not a planet, at least from what we've seen so far, and that might change, that can really bend to your will. You have to sort of work it out and maneuver. And I think there's something to be said about maybe what the creatives were trying to say about environmentalism, where perhaps we can live more effectively and lead more fulfilling lives if we act in harmony with nature. Because an interesting point I've heard is that a lot of times, and a lot of even environmental media, I think like Avatar is an offender of this, people in their minds have divorced humanity from nature. When in reality, in my opinion anyway,
they're one and the same.
Yeah, humanity is nature. Like humans are as good as nature gets on Earth. So effective, in fact, that it becomes nature destroying itself. And so when you look at it through the lens of Scavengers Reign, you have this one type of nature that is, technology based, and we even see the integration of nature and technology with Levi and how they can meld together and adapt to each other and become a new thing.
Harmonize
Very
is the
cool
way of saying it. Like Levi as a character was one of the most unique things I've ever seen in sci-fi. That was beautiful. In the way that the planet rebuilt Levi, I thought was very interesting. Levi was like reproducing at the end.
Yeah, rebirthed rather than rebuilt, crazy. I'd say.
And it's like, it has a lot to say about how man, machine, artificial, colonization essentially can work with nature. Yeah. I thought that was a wild, wild character concept.
It seems like it's arguing that maybe technology and humanity and nature does not have to be a conflict or an us versus them. It can meld into one symbiotic thing, which is it's a point that I think is it's important to say.
It's nice
because as much as it's like fun to peddle like anarcho-primitive Kaczynski memes. Like, technology isn't going anywhere. If technology goes out the window at this point, humanity's so reliant on it that humanity probably goes out the window. So I think taking a look at technology and humans and nature, rather than like the pure condemnation of something like Avatar, and more of a solutions-oriented suggestion like Scavengers Reign, which is we don't have to necessarily tear the whole system down. We don't have to go back to like living in the trees. What if there's a way that we can make this all meld and work together, which is, you don't see it often, especially not in environmentalist media. I think it's important. I think it's beautiful. For that reason alone, it's worth a watch. But luckily, with that message, you also get beautiful animation, tense scenes, great voice acting, compelling narratives. I think this might be a 10 out of 10 show from Holy Plot.
I think, 10 out of 10.
I would definitely give this a 10. I loved every single second of this show. We have talked a lot about how it builds and like what it pays off, but this is so consistently good. It every single week was doing something new that I didn't expect. Not just in its designs and style, but narratively too. There are a lot of twists and turns to this. It is not as world building focused as I thought it was going to be. This is a character based story. It also has one of the most subtle and not intrusive uses of a MacGuffin I've ever seen. I never felt like I was recklessly chasing something. It was a very straightforward drive for the characters, and I loved it. And do more stuff like this, please. I beg you. This is 10 out of 10. Probably my favorite thing that we've touched on this channel, period. And I want more. So let's support this. Let's get a season 2.
A new IP too. Let's go.
Yeah, new ideas.
That's what us dorks are always clamoring for, is we want new IPs. Here's a new IP. Go support it. It's cool. Go watch it.
And check out our thoughts on what we'd like to see in season 2.
Yep.
Holy Plot.
Tomorrow.
10 out of 10. Scavengers Reign. Remember, folks, the Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race, but maybe it doesn't have to end that way. Good night, everybody.